Hey guys, it's Ryan Holman, founder of Sales Recruiting University. Excited to get through this training with you. In this training, we're going to talk about how to create your commission-based compensation plan. Everything from topics like how to budget, how to create your percentages, your bonuses, your rep agreements, talking through payroll systems, and even introducing the idea of activity-based onboarding compensation that will positively impact your recruiting and retention success. If you don't know already, Sales Recruiting University is roughly a 75-person sales recruiting service and coaching business. We recruit well over 1,000 commission-based sales reps every single month all over the country and help clients build out sales process, new hire training process, plug them into our done-for-you sales recruiting service, and so much more. So this is all we do, and we understand commission-based compensation plans. So with that said, let's first talk about your budget. Now, it's probably obvious to you that every industry, opportunity, and organization is going to have different profitability, different margins, and their budget is going to be quite different. So I don't know what your budget percentage is going to be for you, but you want to think about your total revenue, your total net revenue, your total profitability, however you kind of look at things, and you want to figure out, hey, what is the max budget that we're going to have for our commission-based compensation plan, including both the sales leadership team and the sales representative positions. Now, if you Google this specific topic, it's typically 20 to 30% of the budget of gross revenue. But again, that may not be perfect for you. It's also important for you to think about your organization at scale. So as an example, if you're doing 1 million today and your big goal is to get to $10 million over the next 3 to 5 years, and you create a sales rep and a sales leadership budget of 25%, but at scale, when you go from 1 to 5, 10 million, if your operations costs are exponentially higher than they are today, well, that 25% budget may be hurting your budget for everything else. So it's important to think about the future when you think about your sales rep and sales leadership budgets, and you're going to total these at the beginning so that you don't get hurt financially as you grow your team later. I personally made this mistake years ago when building our business. In the first couple of years, we were like 40 to 50% profit margins. And then we started to scale up our sales team. I overpaid at the beginning. And as our marketing and operations costs grew over a couple of years, all of a sudden the company wasn't making any money. And it took about a year to fix that and get profitable as an organization. And part of that required adjusting our sales rep commission plans, which is never a fun conversation to have. And so it's good for you to plan for the future to try to prevent these things in the future from happening. So considering the average organization budgets 20 to 30% of gross revenue to the sales team, for the sake of this video training, I'm just going to assume the middle, which is 25%. Now, again, that may not be the perfect percentage for you, but for the sake of this training and illustration, I'm going to use 25% as our total budget. Now that we understand our total budget, before we understand like the percentages for the sales rep comp plan, what I want to do is deduct that leadership cost from the total percentage of 25%. This is also something that you have to kind of assume about in the future. And the way that you do this is you kind of reverse engineer the leadership org chart that's going to be required to build the sales team that you want. What's also cool about the math I'm going to go through right now is that you'll understand exactly the organization that you need to build to accomplish your goals, which will be good for your recruiting plans in the future. So let's go back to the $1 million to $10 million example. I'm a small business owner. I'm doing $1 million in revenue today. And I'm thinking about my big next 2 to 3 goals over the next few years. Well, maybe that's going to be $10 million in revenue. It's important to understand that when you do this, your goals can't be small because you really need to think about like the big vision in the future, the thing that you really want to accomplish. So as an example, for most small businesses doing 1 million today, their next big goal is going to be $2 million in revenue. If they're doing $2 to $3 million in revenue, the next big goal is going to be to do $5 million in revenue. And if they're doing 5, it's typically going to be 8 to 10. And so what you want to do is you want to think a couple 2 to 3 steps ahead in terms of your goals so that your vision is big enough for the organization that you're building, but also to truly understand the leadership costs that will be required to hit your big goals in the future, because we need to deduct that before we create the sales rep compensation plan. So to go back to the example, let's say that I'm doing 1 million and my goal over the next 3 to 5 years is to get to 10 million. Well, the difference of revenue is obviously 9 million. So I need to increase revenue by 9 million to ultimately get to my goal of $10 million plus in annual revenue. From there, what I need to do is estimate what the average Joe sales rep is going to do annually, pretty much what my quota is going to be, so I can understand how many sales reps I need to go from 1 million to 10 million. So let's assume that the average Joe sales rep at our organization is going to produce 300K plus annually. Now, again, this is just an illustration. So your quota might be 500K a million. It might be less than 300K. This is just to illustrate the idea. So let's assume 300K per year for the average Joe sales rep with plans to go from 1 million to 10 million, which is a difference in 9 million. Well, 300K for the average Joe divided by 9 million is 30 sales reps that I need recruited and retained producing at least 300K per year to go from 1 million to 10 million. Now what I've done is I've understood that I need 30 sales reps to get to my goals. And obviously that's going to require a fairly large sales leadership team to manage that organization. So now that I understand I need 30 sales reps, I want to understand how many sales managers I'm going to need. So maybe for our plans, we're going to have 5 reps for every sales manager. So 5 reps divided by 30 is going to be 6 sales managers that are required to manage over these 30 sales reps. Now, most likely those sales managers are not going to report to ownership. So there may be a couple regionals or directors over that sales management team, and maybe even like a president president of sales or a VP of sales as an executive sales leader that oversees the directors and the sales managers. And all of a sudden I built a 9-person sales leadership team that is required to manage this team of 30. That's going to get me from $1 million to $10 million in revenue. And the reason that we do all this is because we want to understand what that executive sales leader, maybe the VP of sales, that middle layer, maybe the couple director of sales that are overseeing 3 sales managers each, as well as the 6 sales managers that oversee the 30 reps. We want to understand what the cost of that is to the organization, because that's ultimately 3 layers of sales leadership that I want to pay as well as possible to ensure they're happy at their job and they stay with us long term. Now, it depends on how big your goals are, because the bigger the sales team required, the more leadership levels that you'll need to pay. But what we see within our client base is a minimum of 5 and typically up to 10% is required out of the budget to ensure the company has enough money to pay the sales leadership team well. So I want to figure out the sales team that's required to accomplish my goals, reverse engineer the leadership org chart required to get there, and estimate to the best of my ability the percentage to the gross revenue it's going to cost me, so I can deduct that from my total percentage, in this case of 25%. So if I have a 25% budget and I'm going to assume 10% is going to go to the sales leadership team in the future, well, that leaves me with 15% that I can create my compensation plan with. And a reminder as well that this leadership org chart, it can actually impact your recruiting and retention efforts. So as an example, if I created this leadership plan and this is in my recruiting presentation, and the sales reps that I'm pitching into our organization understand that we have 6 sales management opportunities, 2 director of sales opportunities, and a VP of sales opportunity available in the future for advancement, then that's actually going to help me persuade more commission-based sales reps into my organization. It's also going to be a good retention and management tool as I lead people through the growth of our organization, because some of them want those additional opportunities in the future, and the more objective those opportunities are, the more specific that we can get with reps to create a plan to get to those opportunities, and that'll keep reps going through the grind phase of the sales position. So finally, let's create our sales rep commission-based compensation plan. In about 80% of cases, when we help clients with their commission-based compensation plans, we're going to have them create a base commission plan, a monthly bonus commission plan, and then a quarterly bonus commission plan. And in all cases, the majority of the percentage available is going to go to the base comp, the second majority is going to go to the monthly comp, and the smallest majority is going to go to the quarterly bonus comp. So as an example, if I have 15%, maybe 10% goes to the base commission plan, the 3% potential goes to the monthly bonus plan, and the final 2% maybe goes to the quarterly commission plan. So I have a 10% base, a 3% potential in monthly bonuses, and a potential 2% bonus in quarterly bonuses. Now the base commission plan in that example, which is 10%, that's going to be what's paid weekly or bi-weekly or however you pay out your sales reps. It's not in every case, but typically that base commission plan is on net revenue. So as an example, if this week I produce $20K net revenue and I have a 10% base commission plan, the next Friday I'd get paid $2K on that $20K that I collected this week. But the base commission plan is always paid. The monthly bonuses is only if you produce a certain amount monthly, and the quarterly bonus is only for those who crush it over a quarterly period. So in this example, we've included that we have a 10% base, a 3% monthly potential, and a 2% quarterly potential. But we have to understand how we're going to pay out the monthly and the quarterly bonuses. And obviously these are designed for reps to push through the comp plan to produce more for the organization. Now the way that we like to structure this is thinking about quota, what the top 20% of reps do, and what the top 5% of reps do. And you can compare this to other sales reps at your team or other sales reps in your industry. So let's assume ABC company in XYZ industry actually has a base quota of $50K per month. And they also understand that the top 20% of sales reps are going to produce at least $75K plus per month. And lastly, that the top 5% of reps in their industry is going to produce over $100K per month. So in this example, I had 3% for monthly potential bonuses, and I'm probably going to tie that to 50K plus, 75K plus, and 100K plus. So as an example, if they do 50 to 75K in a month, I'm going to give them a 1% bonus. If they do 75 to 100K, they're going to get a 2% bonus. And if they do 100K plus, which is what the top 5% of reps do, they'll actually get a 3% bonus. So 1% on 50K would be a $500 monthly bonus. 2% on 75K in a month would be a $1,500 bonus. And 3% on 100K over a month would be a 3K bonus. And I've tied those bonuses to the bare minimums that we expect from a quota perspective and what the top 20 and top 5% of reps do monthly. And now sales reps are incentivized to hit the bare minimums just to be a part of the sales team, which is 50K in this example, but also incentivized to push towards the top end of the compensation plan, which is producing 75 to 100K plus. And if I'm getting the 10% base and I do 100K plus over a monthly period, then all of a sudden over a monthly period, I've actually been paid 13% because I've maxed out the comp plan. Now this leaves us with our additional 2% on the quarterly bonus, and we typically just attach this to what the top 5%ers do. So in that example, if the top 5%ers do 100K plus per month, well, over a quarterly period or a 90 or 3-month period, that's obviously going to be 300K. And so if I produce 300 $300K plus over a quarter, I'd get my 2% bonus. And all of a sudden I've maxed out the compensation plan to 15%, which was our total budget. Now, most sales reps are obviously not going to maximize the compensation plan, but the incentives are there for the top producers to push. Now, this idea is not the end all be all for every type of commission-based compensation plan. As an example, we had a client a couple weeks ago who's in the credit repairs industry, and the way that their profitability, organization, their product work, it just didn't make sense to do a quarterly bonus. So they simply created a base commission plan, which is the bare minimum, but added a monthly performance bonus to that based on production. And that was totally okay for them. So this is not necessarily cookie cutter, but this training should be enough for you to run with this topic and create your compensation plan on your own. Now that we understand the sales rep commission-based compensation plan, let's talk about paying setters. Now, for a lot of you, you don't want to create a setter team, whether that's canvassing in the field or doing outbound cold calling on the phones, but it's important to note that if you're going to add setters to the mix, that you got to deduct that from whatever your budget is. So as an example, if my cost of acquisition is going to be 3%, and that's what I'm going to allocate towards the setter program, well, then that 3% is probably going to be taken off the base compensation plan for sales reps to protect the company. So to go back to the previous example, when we had a 10% base for the sales reps, well, that would be for them if they're self-generating their own leads. But if it's a setter who generated the lead and provided it to them and it closed, well, that was an easier sale for them. And the company would deduct the 3% off the 10%, making sure that the rep got 7% on their base comp so that they could afford within the budget to pay the setter 3%. So I hope that wasn't too confusing. The point is that you need to understand your budget, stay within your budget, protect the company, and ensure your commission-based compensation plan works at scale. So I won't spend a lot of time here, but regardless if they're setters on the phones or canvassers in the field, the ideal situation for setters in their first 30 days is they make at least a couple grand. Now, I know for every opportunity you can't make that happen, but that's the ideal situation. In a setter commission-based compensation plan, the company is typically paying setters commissions on appointments that sat with the closer that were qualified appointments. So as an example, if I'm a setter and I set 15 appointments this week and 8 of them actually show with a closer and only 5 of them were qualified, well, then the setter would only get commissions on those 5 appointments. Now, that commission typically ranges from $100 to $200 depending on the organization and opportunity. So as an example, if I'm paying $100 on qualified appointments that sit with the closer and 5 of them sit this week, like that example I just shared, well, that would be $500 in base commissions that go to the setter. So that's the base comp plan, is just paying on qualified appointments that sit. And from there, you're typically providing commissions on closes. So in that past example, if 5 sit down with a closer and 1 of them closes, then I, as the setter, would get an additional commission on that close. Every organization is going to be a little bit different. Maybe that's $100, $500, maybe it's percentage based for you. I'm not sure, but these are typically the triggers that sales reps get paid when they're commission based. And lastly, there would typically be a monthly bonus based on the amount of qualified appointments that I set with closers, or based on the amount of closes that happen from the appointments that I set. Now, the setting opportunity within your organization is not the most attractive opportunity that exists. Obviously, the sales rep or the closer position is the sexiest opportunity. So in an ideal world, you have enough money there to pay the setters well enough to not get them distracted by other opportunities in your company. And from a monthly income perspective, that would ideally be at least $4K per month and up to $8K for the best setter opportunities in the marketplace. But at a bare minimum, the compensation plan needs to allow for a base of $3K per month and up to $6K per month on the top end. So the bare minimum is $3 to $6K per month, and the better setter positions are going to pay out $4 to $8K per month. And for some organizations that are lower ticket and are not very profitable, sometimes you can't even do setter opportunities, and it is what it is. But the better that you make the setter opportunity, the more money that they can make, the better you're going to retain reps in that position long term. And that's ultimately what you want. If you hire me and I'm a rockstar setter, whether I'm doing that door-to-door and canvassing, or if I'm doing cold calls or cold emails or whatever it is, you ideally want to keep me in that position as long as possible because I'm creating lead flow for the company. And if the compensation is not great, then there's going to be high attrition there. To move on, I want to quickly talk about rep agreements and payroll, and lastly finish up with activity-based onboarding compensation, which can increase your retention rates. So rep agreement's pretty simple, whether you're W-2 or 1099. Obviously, if you onboard a sales rep, you need to have an agreement in place to actually onboard them into your opportunity. Now, this is not legal advice, but it works for us. And I'm not necessarily recommending that you do this, but you can do it if you want. Again, it works for us. All that we do to create new agreements is we map out all the job responsibilities, the commission-based compensation plan, and then we upload that into an AI tool like ChatGPT, and we say, please take the following information for a sales representative role and make an independent contractor agreement based on the Utah laws. And ChatGPT in 30 seconds will create a brand new independent contractor agreement for you. You can copy paste that, put it on a document, go through and edit it one more time just to make sure it's perfect, and then upload that to DocuSign or however you onboard reps administratively into your company. Payroll is obviously something that you have to have set up as well. The last thing that you want to do is mess up a rep's pay and not have that organized in your business. And if you don't already have something organized within your company today, just to note, this tool may be helpful for you, and it's rippling.com, rippling.com. And it's just a global payroll system that makes it easy to do the administrative onboarding process with sales reps and your team members. And they also have pre-built agreements in there as well for W-2 and 1099, but primarily it's a payroll platform to organize that part of your business. And again, in terms of rep agreements and payroll, you may already have something set up, but that's just a quick note for some of you who don't have a payroll system set up. And also for those of you who maybe don't have an easy process to create rep agreements. So the last topic for the training today is activity-based onboarding compensation. And this is one of the biggest things that we suggest to clients, although it's not applicable or doable for every organization that we serve. And really, it's a way to provide training pay without the company risking cash into the sales rep. And pretty much this is on top of whatever the regular compensation plan is. And there are additional bonuses as sales reps hit certain activities and production marks during their ramp-up phase into quota. And again, this is not required to successfully build a commission-based sales team. I would say only a third of our clients do this, but we highly recommend it to every client that we serve because it's something that can double your retention rates immediately. Another thing that our clients do if this topic overwhelms them is they wait till they get 2 to 3, 4, 5 reps ramped up through a recruiting service. And once they have more cash flow coming into the organization, they do this. But it's really designed to only bonus sales reps as they're doing the activities required to see success in the sales position. So as an example, let's say that I have a roofing sales opportunity and it's door to door and reps are self-generating and closing their own deals. And really per our compensation plan today, reps are not going to be making good money for 90 days. And maybe they're not even making any money for the first 30 to 60 days. Well, the reality of an opportunity like that is the attrition is going to be really high. The retention is not going to be great. And technically that's okay. It just requires more recruiting volume. But if you can collapse the income timeline for the sales rep and increase your retention rates overnight, obviously that would be a beneficial thing. Or maybe you have a B2B sales opportunity where reps are self-generating and closing their own deals. And it also takes 3 to 6 months to ramp up into the position. Well, this would be really applicable to an opportunity like that. Pretty much if the income opportunity really sucks in the first 1 to 2, 3 months, then this is a good opportunity to improve it to help recruiting and retention. Let me illustrate how you actually think through this topic. First, you want to understand quota and whatever income is associated with your quota. So let's go back to the previous numbers and say that our quota is $50K per month. And let's assume that based on the $50K per month, if you just do that annually, that you're going to be making a bare minimum income at this organization of $60K per year. Well, I want to take that quota income in this example, $60K, and think about what it looks like for the average Joe to ramp up from a timeline perspective into that income. So let's say that we're pitching an opportunity that has a bare minimum income at quota of $60K per year, and it takes 90 days to ramp up into that income. Well, $60K per year is technically $5K per month, which means it's going to take me 90 days just to get up to $5K plus per month in income. Now, obviously, per the compensation plan, I can do a lot more, assuming I'm a top 20 to top 5% sales rep. But again, you need to base everything off the averages. And so let's say that I know that it takes 90 days to ramp up into that $60K on-track earnings mark, which is technically 3 months or 12 weeks. Well, what I do is I start to understand, okay, based on them getting to $5K per month, the on-track earnings for $60K per year, if that takes 90 days, what would they have accomplished in month 3, 2, and 1 to actually be on track to get there? Well, let's say hypothetically for our compensation and opportunity, they needed to produce 6 sales in month 3, 4 sales in month 2, and 2 sales in month 1 to ensure that they're systematically approaching that $60K on track earnings mark. Well, what that does, it allows me to get more granular week by week through those first 12 weeks so that I can confidently bonus reps as they're hitting these benchmarks. So again, if I know they need to do 2 sales in month 1, 4 sales in month 2, and 6 sales in month 3 to be on track for $5K plus per month, well, then I can come to a conclusion on what they need to accomplish week 1, 2, 3, and 4 to do their first 2 sales in month 3, weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8 to do their 4 sales in month 2, and so on and so forth. Now, as an owner, after I come to a conclusion on this 12-week roadmap or whatever the timeline is for your opportunity, well, I can be more confident in paying out on top of the compensation plan in the first 3 months to ensure that I have a better chance at retaining the rep that's actually showing up and doing the work. So if you hire me and you have this 12-week roadmap of success, and I show up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I'm following everything that you've laid out to me to be on track for $5K plus per month by the end of 12 weeks, then that should tell you confidently as an owner that I'm the type of sales rep who's going to see success within your organization because I'm doing the work, giving you more confidence to give me additional onboarding bonuses as I ramp up into my quota income. Now, these additional bonuses can be a couple grand, 6 grand, 10 grand, I don't care. But it is activity and production based, protecting the company from just paying out anybody that shows up into onboarding. So let's say that I want to pay out $6,000 in onboarding bonuses in the first 3 months. Well, a simple version of that based on the example I gave would be a couple $1,000 if they did their first 2 sales in month 1, a couple $1,000 if they did 4 sales in month 2, and a couple grand in month 3 if they did their 6+ sales. And all of a sudden they made an additional $6,000 on top of their compensation plan. That's incentivized them to push through the ramp up period, which is the most difficult part at the beginning. And I've been able to better recruit and retain reps that actually join our organization. Your ramp up to quota is probably 30, 60, or 90 days, so it's not technically 3 months for all of you. And you can either pay out these bonuses monthly or weekly. Monthly bonuses in the first 1 to 2, 3 months is better for you, but worse for the sales rep. Better for you because you get to delay the cash investment over a month, and it's easier actually to track over a month, and worse for the sales rep because they're not getting the money as quickly. And paying out these bonuses weekly is better for the sales rep, but more difficult difficult for you to track and a bigger cash investment risk to you. So as an example, if I had that $6,000 that I wanted to pay out over 3 months, well, instead of 2K, 2K, 2K at the end of each month, if they hit those bare minimums of 2, 4, and 6 sales, well, instead I would just understand what they need to do week by week, and I would bonus them 500, 500, 500 as they hit their weekly benchmarks in those first 3 months. Now I ended up paying out the same, but in the weekly example, I have to track more. It's easier to mess up, but the sales rep gets the money more quickly, so it's a better experience for them. You can get really creative with this idea as well. Let's say as an example, I want to pay out $5,000, and that's what we're going to budget for onboarding compensation and hypothetically the first 3 months. Well, maybe I want to delay the big bonus towards the end to protect myself financially as much as possible, but to also have this really cool carrot for the sales rep to chase. So maybe at the end of month 1, I want to bonus $1,000. At the end of month 2, I want to bonus $1,000. And at the end of month 3, I bonus them $3,000. Well, I can delay the cash investment, make it heavier on the end of the ramp up phase, protect myself a little bit more financially, although it's not as good for the sales rep at the beginning. So there's a million ways that you can make this work. And it really depends on your organization, opportunity, your budget, profitability, all of those things. But again, this is a way for you to offer training pay, which is going to impact recruiting and retention, making the sales team building process easier for you. So with that said, we've gone through enough information, I think, for today. Hopefully you got a ton of value from today's training. If you're just starting the thought process of building your commission-based sales team and you literally have 0 sales reps, like 70% of the clients that we onboard, then you may want to watch this training 2 to 3 times to really map out everything. And of course, you can go to salesrecruitinguniversity.com and connect with our team directly, and we can put you in a position to build your sales team much more easily. So with that said, thank you so much for your time today. If you made it to the end, make sure to subscribe, share, drop a comment below on any questions that you have, and we'll look forward to creating new videos for you in the future. Thank you.